Hi, second grade. I have a book that I'm going to share with you today, and I am so excited. This is one of my favorite books, and I'm so excited that you have your own copy in front of you. You should have your myBook. If you don't, pause the video and go grab that. Once you have your myBook, we're looking at page 14. So make sure you're with me on page 14. If you're not there, pause it and meet me there. So we're going to look at page 14. Prepare to read. So you're looking at this page. I want you following along. So fantasies are stories with made-up events that could not really happen. As you read Clark the Shark, look for animal characters who talk and act like people. Animals can't really do that. The beginning, middle, end of the story. How pictures and words help you understand what happens. I want you looking for our power words. They're over here in the column with the highlighted words. Those are our power words that we just went over together. Ask questions before, during, and after you read to help you get information or understand the text. Look for evidence in the text and pictures to answer your question. Now, if you enjoy Clark the Shark, after I read it with you and I want you to follow along, you can read this as much as you want. If you want to read it for your reading log, that is perfectly fine. This is a really cute little book, and I know that you all are really going to enjoy it. So this is Clark the Shark, and it's a fantasy, which means it is not true. There's not really a shark out there named Clark, although there could be a shark named Clark, I guess, but this isn't him. He's just pretend. So I want you thinking about Clark the Shark. And what do you notice here on the front cover of Clark the Shark? Look what he's doing. Where is he? Yeah, he's at school. Or he may be like you and learning in his home. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. So make sure you stay with me. Follow along as I read Clark the Shark. In all the wide blue seas, in all the wide blue world, the top school for fish was Theodore Roosterfish Elementary. And all of the fish at Theodore Roosterfish, the biggest and the strongest was Clark the Shark. So this story is called Clark the Shark, which makes me think it's going to be about Clark and what he does. And as I read this page, I learned something important about Clark. I learned that he is the biggest and strongest fish at his school. And so this makes me wonder, what's he like? Is he nice? Is he a good friend? What do the other fish think about him being so big and strong? I don't know. It's very interesting. So this is what I'm wondering right now, and I hope that you are having some wonderings too about Clark. So finding answers to these questions as I read is going to help me get to know Clark better. All right, you're with me. Ready? Clark loved school, and he loved his teacher, Mrs. Inky Dink. He loved to play upsy-downsy and spin-a-majig with his friends. Clark loved his life. So what is Clark doing in this picture? What do you see there? Yeah, he's got a big grin on his face. He's playing with his friends. Absolutely. It says Clark loved his life. School is awesome, shouted Clark the Shark. Less shouting, more reading, said Mrs. Inky Dink. Lunchtime is sweet, yelled Clark the Shark. Munch your own lunch, said his best friend, Joey Mackerel. Recess rocks, bellowed Clark the Shark. You are playing rough, Clark. So the author shows the words that Clark says in a different way. Look right here. Lunchtime is sweet. Recess rocks. So I wonder, why does the author do that? Why do you think the author would put Clark's words differently? And I think they might be large and dark to show you how Clark speaks. It says bellowed, and we know that bellowed means a loud, deep voice. So that tells me Clark is very, very loud. And so not only is he larger than his classmates and stronger than his classmates, it makes me wonder if he's also a lot louder than his classmates. And I wonder if that's going to cause him a problem. We'll see. Yes, Clark loved his life with all his sharky heart, but he loved everything way too much. He was too loud. He was too wild. He was just too much shark for the other fish to handle. After a while, no one would play with Clark. No one ate lunch with him. No one sat with him at circle time. Even his best friend Joey Mackerel said, "Cool your jets, Clark. You're making me crazy." So we have poor Clark who has a big problem. And his problem is that nobody wants to play with him anymore. He's too loud. He's just too much. They just can't handle him. So how do you think, and I just want you to think this in your head, how do you think Clark might solve this problem? One day Clark asked Mrs. Inky Dink, "What's wrong with everyone?" Mrs. Inky Dink patted his fin. "Clark, sometimes you play too hard. You play much too hard. And gosh, you even help too hard." "My life is just so exciting," said Clark. "There's a time and place for everything, Mrs. Inky Dink, and sometimes the rule is stay cool." So a lot of times in a book, you'll notice that the main character, who is Clark, they sometimes will go to advice to get help from someone who's older and wiser. And we do that too. We talk to our parents. We talk to our teachers. He's choosing to talk to Mrs. Inky Dink. And it's a good strategy. She gives him advice. She tells him to stay cool, and there's a time and place for everything. All right, make sure you're with me. Ready? At recess, Clark tried to stay cool, but he pushed the swing with too much zing. "Sorry," said Clark, "I forgot." "Yikes," cried Joey Mackerel. At lunch, Clark tried to stay cool, but everything smelled so good that he munched a bunch of lunches. "Sorry," said Clark, "I forgot." "We're starving," said his friend. So how are things going here with Clark? Not so well. Not so well. I notice this word starving is big letters. Why do you think that is? Yeah, the author wanted you to know we are starving. In class, Clark tried to stay cool, but a good book got him all shook up. "Now, Clark," said Mrs. Inky Dink, "this isn't the time or the place. Tell me, what's the rule?" "Stay cool," said Clark. "Hey, that rhymes," he cried. Then Clark got a big idea in his sharky head. "Maybe if I make a rhyme, I'll remember every time," he thought. The next day, he put his plan to work. So, how is Clark listening to Mrs. Inky Dink here? Yeah, he's going to make up a rhyme that's going to remind him, hopefully, to stay cool. Why does he decide to do that? Right, he wants to stay cool. He wants people to like him. He wants to have his friends back, and he wants to be better. So what does that tell you about Clark? Absolutely. He's willing to try new things. He's willing to think outside the box to make himself better. In class, when lessons got exciting, Clark wanted to bounce up out of his seat. Instead, he told himself, "When teacher's talking, don't go walking." And what do you know, it worked. "Attaboy, Clark," said Mrs. Inky Dink. Clark smiled. Lessons are fun. At lunch, everything smelled so yummy. When Clark wanted to eat and never stop, he told himself, "Only munch your own lunch." And it worked again. "Way to go, Clark," said his friends. Clark grinned. Lunch is fun. So how do you know that Clark's plan's working? Absolutely. Look, his friends have their own lunches today. They get to eat. So Clark's not eating them, and his friends are saying, "Way to go." So it sounds like they're proud of him. And how do you think Clark is feeling about himself here? Yep, he's feeling wonderful about himself. He grinned. He grinned. All right, stay with me. At playtime, Clark told himself, "Easy does it. That's the way. Then my friends will let me play." And playtime was fun. Once more, Clark loved his life. But then a shadow fell across the playground, a ginormous shadow with tentacles galore. "It's a new kid and he looks scary," said Joey Mackerel. "Swim for your lives!" The squid squashed the slide and it snapped off the swings. "Oops, my bad," said the new kid. So I wonder if Clark and this new kid might have something in common. Wait, said Clark. He just wants to play. Let's find a way. Sorry, my phone's ringing and I'm just going to let it ring for a second. He swam at the new kid with all his might. Clark played harder than he ever had before. Upsy downsy and spin-a-majig. Why, he even made up a new game. Tail Wumpa-Lumps. So how are Clark and the new kid alike? Right, they're both much bigger than the other kids. They're both stronger than the other kids, and they're probably a little more rough than the other children too. Wow, that was fun, said the new kid breathlessly, and he settled down. If you want to come to school, you've got to stay cool, said Clark. So it sounds like Clark took Miss Inky Dink's advice and is now giving his new friend advice. That's right, Clark, said Mrs. Inky Dink, and thanks for taking care of our new classmate, Sid the Squid. Hooray for Clark the Shark, everyone cheered. So it sounds like Clark took the advice from Miss Inky Dink and helped out his friend, and that's so wonderful. How do you think his classmates are feeling right now? Yeah, they're so excited for him. They're so happy for him. That night, Clark's mother asked, "What did you learn at school, dear?" "There's a time and place for everything," Clark said. "Sometimes you stay cool." So what does he mean when he tells his mother that there's a time and place for everything? Right, it means there's a time to be serious and there's a time to be carefree. There's a time for all of that. And it's you have to find the right way to be at the right place. And that's difficult. Clark had a lot of trouble with that. But sometimes a shark's got to do what a shark's got to do. I love this book. I think it's wonderful. So this picture, look at Clark. He's with his brother now, and he's excited, and he's feeling good. You think he's going to get in trouble for being a little wild here? No, they're outside and they're playing. He's not in school anymore. So it sounds to me like Clark has learned that there's a time and place for everything. So before we end, I want you to look at this page in your reader, page 33, and I want you thinking about these. And if you have someone close to you, you can talk to them about this, but you don't have to. What questions did you ask yourself before, during, and after your reading? And how did your questions help you to understand this story? Why do his friends stop playing with him? How do you think that made him feel? And I want you to try to find some places in the text that show you that. And then choose one of Clark's rhymes and explain how it helps him to be a good citizen. So this is what I want you to work on until we get to the next part of our lesson.